Hello, I think I am streaming live. I am here in New York City at the facilities of ITP in a small room with a camera and a laptop and a screen and a green screen to talk about what's new in Processing 3. I did this about a week ago and found some bugs in Processing 3, and I'm going to attempt to do this again. So if you happen to be watching, and I'm sort of looking over here at this other screen here to see if there is anyone watching, I can't tell. And first of all, if you are watching, please tell me how the audio is, because I need to stop and start if the audio is no good. But what I'm going to do here is twofold. One is I'm going to improvise and talk and kind of go through my script and look at some things and get ready. And then at a certain point, I'm going to hit a record button over here, that's when I'm going to start trying to record the more official video, the one that I'll save for later posting. But all of this, the raw footage and everything, will be stored forever and ever on YouTube unless I decide to delete it because it's way too embarrassing. But it has to get really embarrassing for me to find it embarrassing, because generally I'm just embarrassing. I'm in a room by myself talking to a camera, which is just embarrassing. If I have some time, I have about an hour and a half to do this. Not that anyone would, I expect, be sitting here and watching this for an hour and a half. But at a certain point, once I get through some of the stuff that I need to get through, I'm also happy if you've got the chat open. If you want to ask random questions about processing or other types of creative coding things, I'm happy to try to answer questions as well. So I'm going to take a quick look over here at the chat to see if anyone posted anything. I love that there's from the UK and Turkey. It sounds like the audio is good, which is excellent. The first thing I'm going to do is just kind of talk through my script here. Let's see if I can pull that up. So this is for the video what I think I'm going to talk about. I want to just sort of say hello and welcome. Who's this video for? Who am I? And that the video is about what's new in Processing 3. I want to look at the welcome screen, which has a sort of option of what to do in terms of saving your Processing 2 sketchbook versus your Processing 3 sketchbook. I want to look at the editor and there's a lot of new stuff in the editor in terms of just visual design and color, but I want to mostly look at the error checking, how that works, auto completion, tweak mode, and the debugger. However, I'm not going to spend very much time on the debugger because I have an entirely other video that I already made about the debugger. I want to just emphasize how much faster and speedier and less flickery the OpenGL renderers are. This is really due to many people's work, but to single out a few, Andres Kalubri and Jakob Walter. Did I pronounce that right? Spent a lot of time working on the OpenGL renderer. There's a new full screen function. You can span on multiple displays. I'm going to talk through that. Talk a little about support for high density displays. Just mention briefly some of the sort of stronger restrictions in terms of how you call the size function, look at the contributions manager and how amazing and wonderful it is now, and next steps and the wiki and GitHub and how you can contribute and all that sort of stuff. So that's my script. Does anybody have any feedback on that script? What I like to do, since there's a 30-second delay before you hear what I say, is I like to do magic tricks with my magic invisible water. This is water that's invisible, but oh so delicious. Okay, that was about 30 seconds of me drinking the water. Let's see, I don't see any other comments. I got 14, that's 1 in 4, double digits, people watching this. I'm really moving up in the world. So I think that's kind of my plan. Interested in the difference between OpenGL and how to get the most from that. So Mike Brondberg asked, which I don't know if I pronounced your name correctly, how to get the most from some of the new stuff in OpenGL. So maybe I can talk about that a little bit after I get sort of this core video done. The core video, I just want to be 10 to 15 minutes and kind of gloss over the higher level stuff. And then maybe we can have a little bit of discussion. To be honest with you, I'm not as, my expertise in terms of kind of the guts of the OpenGL stuff in processing is not as deep as it could be. Just been kind of watching with glee and amazement of how much work has gone into the OpenGL engine. But I can try to offer a few tips or a few bits of knowledge that I have. But that's that. Good enough. Okay. Any other questions, comments? Losing viewership, folks, down to 12. I want a giant ticker, just so I could be inundated with this number, which is really strange. I don't have the like Periscope thing where I just see hearts floating everywhere. I could just like, maybe I could have some like hearts hanging from the ceiling in this room, which would make me feel better. I have I feel the warmth and love of the world in this strange place by myself talking to a camera. I need a studio audience. Okay, so rather than keep rambling, I am going to get started to make this video, I think, because I think I'm ready to do it. The thing is, I'm probably gonna have to do it a couple times, I'm gonna record this a couple times. I'll do it once, try to get through the whole thing, and if you guys have questions or feedback, I'll record it again. If there's anyone out there with a flair or a talent for video editing, it's possible that I could conceivably make the final video as kind of editing together pieces of like the good part from here and a good part from here. But you know, my sort of style is just try to do the whole thing in one take. It's informal and I'll make mistakes along the way, but that's also okay. So I'm gonna come back to my magic water because I need some water before I start. And I think that's it. Does the line move up, down yet? Text editor, does the line move up, down yet? Me goes to download, line duplicate in place. Sorry, I don't understand that question, Zephy. So if you want to clarify, I can maybe kind of look at it again later. I am, however, because I get distracted by seeing myself in this chat page, I'm going to kind of close this laptop for a second. So I won't be looking at the chat for like about 10 minutes or so. I have a non-invisible coffee drink. And I think I will get started. Okay, I feel like I need a little more water, so I'm having trouble getting going. I'm stepping out of frame for a second. Okay, here we go. Welcome to Processing 3. This is take 1. Clapper. Okay, I have to go over here, to turn this mouse on because I gotta press the record button. You know, this mouse is like way in the way. Okay. I should probably have a different background than the just gray one, but the gray one will have to do. I keep burping, which you can probably hear, which is like really embarrassing. It's live YouTube. Okay, here we go. Hello and welcome. My name is Dan Schiffman, and I am here right now in this room to talk about what's new in Processing 3. Processing 3 is the result of... start over. Who am I? New in Processing 3. On behalf... I was going to say that. Okay. Once I get some momentum going, I'll probably be fine. Try that one more time. Hit record. Hello, welcome. My name is Dan Schiffman, and I'm... Oh, the camera went off. It's a good thing I remembered. Good thing I just started. These cameras have this bad habit of powering off after 30 minutes because I'm using Canon 5Ds. I think there's a setting that I can change, but I haven't changed it. Okay, stop. And here we go. This is going to be it. Hello. My name is Dan Schiffman, and I'm here on behalf of the Processing Foundation and the many, well, not so many. It's not so many. There's really just a few core people who volunteer. Processing is a very small team. There's not a lot of people. I want to thank people, but without like listing names and all of that, I guess I won't worry about that too much. I can't take any credit for any of this. I'm just making the video. Hello and welcome. My name is Dan Schiffman. I am here on behalf of the Processing Foundation and all of the volunteers, so many people who have put in so much time and effort to make this new thing that's come out right now called Processing 3. Now, processing isn't new. Processing has been around all the way since 2001. Processing 3 is the newest and, in my opinion, the greatest, really an amazing and like, I don't know, I sound like Donald Trump in my over-exaggeration, but it's a really wonderful, that's going to be like a cultural reference that's no one's going to want to hear 2 years from now. I'm going to start over. No one's really listening to me. I'm going to, that was fine, except I said Donald Trump. It's the best ever processing video version of processing. It's the greatest. Let's make processing great again. Okay. All right. I was not hired for host of The Daily Show, clearly. Okay. Here we go. Hello, my name is Dan Schiffman, and I am here on behalf of the Processing Foundation and all of the volunteers who have put a ton of time and effort into making this new version of processing that has just come out, Processing 3. Now, processing is not a new project. Processing has been around all the way since 2001. It's almost 15 years of work that has gone into processing, but this new version has a lot of new features that I'm particularly excited about. And so what I'd like to do in this video is kind of hit the high points and kind of walk through what's new in Processing 3, see what I can show to you. If you have questions, maybe you can add them in the comments or find me on Twitter, and I'll make more videos to answer some of those questions. But first, let me just say, so in terms of the audience for this video, if processing is totally new to you, what I might suggest doing is going to the processing website, link below, as well as the Hello Processing tutorial, which will also be linked below, which will give you kind of an introduction to what processing is and how to program with processing. Here, I just want to kind of look at what's new in 3 that wasn't there in 2. Okay, so I'm going to just do it right now. So the first thing I'm going to do is I have Processing 3. Look at that wonderfully beautiful icon, not designed by me because I have no visual talent whatsoever, but I'm so pleased to be involved with this project that everything looks so wonderful. I'm going to click on this icon and Processing 3 launches. Now, one of the things you'll notice, I don't know if this has ever happened before, probably has, but there's a welcome screen here. And one of the new things about Processing 3 is that Processing 3 allows the possibility of keeping your sketch folder from Processing 2 intact, meaning all the libraries, all of your sketches intact, so that if you ever need to go back to using Processing 2 or move between the 2 versions, you can have separate sketch folders. And this is kind of the recommended way of working. You can say, you could use your existing sketchbook folder and just kind of bring all those sketches into Processing 3, or you could kind of start fresh and pull things over a little bit as you need. So the hope, of course, is that after a little while, Processing 3 is going to be the main version you find yourself using. But as libraries are still being updated and changing, you might want to sort of keep some of your historical stuff if you have a kind of project you have to just get running for this exhibition this day. So I'm going to do that. I'm going to select Create a New Sketchbook Folder, and I'm going to click Get Started. Now what it's doing is it is opening up the Finder, and it's telling me where do you want that new processing sketch folder to be. Now this won't exist for you. I happened to, before I made this video, I made a folder here called Processing 3 in my Documents folder. So that's the folder I'm going to select. That's the folder I'm going to hit open to, and now that is my processing sketchbook. And if I go to sketchbook, you can see there's nothing in there because I've started completely fresh. And if I have a shortcut here on the desktop, just so we can take a look at that folder, you can see what's been made automatically there, a folder for examples, libraries, modes, and tools. So those are some things I'll talk about when I get to the contributions manager, but this is where your sketches would appear as you start to make new ones and save them. Of course, you can save them anywhere on your computer, but the sketchbook is the default location essentially. Okay, so what's next on my script that's in front of me? Let's start looking actually at the editor itself. So the thing that's changed the most in Processing 3, just at a glance, is the visual design of the editor. Icons are a little different. There's a new button over there. Look at this, line numbers, right? There's line numbers for your code. These line numbers look strangely spaced out. Perhaps that's only because I've made the font for the editor quite large just for demonstration purposes in this video. And so in fact, I could start typing some code. And I could say size. And I could say draw. And there we go. I wrote some code. Oh boy, did I make a lot of mistakes or what? So one of the things that I don't know what just happened there while I was typing or watching, I kind of lost my train of thought for a minute. I was in the zone of being hypnotized and typing. But one of the things you'll notice is that where there are errors, you'll see, oh, look at this. There's a little squiggly line there showing me there's an error here. Now you can obviously see I'm missing a second parenthesis here. So one of the new features of Processing 3 is that the real-time error checking. As you're writing your code, processing behind the scenes is checking to find errors and highlighting them for you in certain ways. You can also see this error is highlighted right here, missing right parentheses. And look at that. Isn't that just the greatest error message you've ever seen? So one of the things that we've worked on quite hard in this new version is rewriting kind of standard Java error messages to try to make them make a little more sense and be a little friendly and quite helpful. And this is, it doesn't work perfectly in all cases, but this is a case where you've seen it's worked quite well. So I could go here and I could close that right parentheses, and we could see, oh, there's some other errors, some other squiggly lines, what's going on, and now, something else that's new. All right, I'm missing a right curly bracket perhaps. But one of the things that's new down here that you can see is the message area. The message area where you might normally type things like print line. I sort of messed that up. The message area is where you might see the results of print messages that you put in your code to kind of try to debug your code. That's always just been the place where you also see the error messages. It's one window, error message spit out there, your print line spit out there. There are now two tabs. There's the console where the results of things that you log to the console through print line appear, and then this errors tab. And this errors tab will actually show you what the current error is and what line number it's on. So, and you can see this red dot here is indicating that it's an error. I believe there is also the possibility for processing to demonstrate, to give you a warning, something that's like not such a good idea, but your code will run anyway. And that would probably be represented by a yellow dot, if I'm right about that. So let me fix some errors so we can, I want to kind of demonstrate some ideas to you. So I'm going to take this out. So one thing I want to show you here is, let me do this. Okay, so one thing I want to show you, sorry that was a little bit awkward, is notice how I'm missing a parentheses up here and I'm missing a semicolon here. Previously in this scenario, processing would have only ever shown you the first error. Once you fix the first error, then it'll show you the second error. Now what you'll notice is down here in the console, the error console, multiple errors are listed. And again, you can see missing right parentheses, missing a semicolon. Both of these have the red dot, they're errors. This is like great, I love these error messages. They're so nice and helpful and explain exactly what they should be. So I'm going to correct those errors. Now, processing just found one more error. Notice I didn't actually declare this variable y anywhere, but I used it, and now I have the variable y does not exist, which again is exactly what that error message should be. So this is just thrilling, and I can fix that error by saying int y, and now, I spelled ellipse wrong. I have another error. I spelled ellipse correctly, and now all the errors have gone away. And I'm going to hit save. Oops, I don't need to hit save. And you can see that everything's gone. I can click back to the message console. So that's a little bit about the error checking. I went on a little longer than I might have intended to, but I think I will stop there. So that's one of the main new features in the processing editor. Now, another feature that is very exciting is code completion. So first of all, that real-time error checking thing that was happening, you can actually turn that off if it starts to get in your way. It's telling you errors constantly while you're typing, and maybe that's something you just want to see when you hit save or when you hit run. So in the processing preferences, right here under continuously check for errors, if you wanted to turn that off, you could turn that off here. I'm going to leave it on, but I'm going to add something else here. This is not on by default, but it is something that you can quickly enable in the preferences, code completion. So a lot of you who have worked with other types of development environments are probably quite familiar with code completion. You start typing and it's like, hey, maybe you're saying ellipse or maybe you're saying rectangle, let me fill that code in for you. This is now available for you in the processing development environment. So I'm going to select code completion, I'm going to select OK, and I'm going to come down here and I'm going to say EL, and then I'm going to say control space. Now, code completion doesn't trigger automatically. The way that you trigger it is by clicking control space. And you can see when I type EL control space, it's making a guess. Do I want to type ellipse, ellipse mode, or use this ellipse constant? And you can see it's also giving you a little bit more information. What are the arguments it expects? Ellipse expects 4 arguments, 4 floating point numbers. Ellipse mode expects 1 argument, an integer. So I'm going to do ellipse mode, and I'm going to type center, and I'm going to code completion that. And you can see, there we go. So this is something that's possible in the IDE. It will also, code completion also will pop up if I was making like a vector object whenever I hit the dot. So as soon as I say v dot, I see a list of all the available functions for that particular object, and I can kind of scroll through them and select the one that I want, and I know that I've got the spelling right, and I know what the number of arguments expected are. So this is a really great new feature that's in Processing 3. Okay, moving on to the next item, tweak mode. So let's find an example to open up, and I probably should have thought of one in advance that I meant to open. And I'm going to go under topics and animation. No, wait, Let's do simulation. I know. Simulation, flocking, this is one of the ones I always like to do. And what I'm going to do, right, okay, so you're probably familiar with the run button. This runs the sketch. There it is, you see it there. There is another way you can run the sketch known as present mode. I'm going to now present mode the sketch, which just puts the sketch sort of in front of a background full screen to hide the rest of your operating system desktop. And there is now a third way that I can call the sketch, trigger the sketch, and I'm going to come over to this part because I think this is what I want to demonstrate. I can go sketch tweak. So I'm going to run this sketch tweak, and now notice the sketch running and look at the code. I am going to scroll down, see certain numbers suddenly have an underline under them. And here's some numbers. These are the weights. In this flocking example, each one of these Boyd elements operates with 3 rules: separation, alignment, and cohesion. So let's say I want to turn off the alignment rule, make alignment 0, and make cohesion 0, and make separation much, much higher. You can see that the behavior, and I really should, I'm going to do this video again because I'm just practicing now, that you can see how the behavior has really changed based on the strength of this parameter. So if you want to just have a quick and dirty way to play with values and how they affect the behavior of your code, you can do that through this tweak mode interface. And then once I hit stop, tweak mode is going to ask, hey, do you want to keep those changes? Whatever those new variable values are, do you want to keep those in the sketch? Now, this is no substitute for building your own interface or having interesting procedural and algorithmic generative ways to change values in your code. It's really just a quick extra tool for sketching out ideas and trying different colors that you can play with. And in fact, tweak mode has a color picker built into it as well, which is often useful in addition to just tweaking different values. Okay, and now the last new, how long have I been talking for? 12 minutes. The last new feature that I would like to demonstrate here that's part of the editor is the debugger. And I'm actually going to talk very little about the debugger because I've made an entirely separate video about the debugger that you can watch, and I'll have that linked below again in the description for this video. But right here, there is this icon, this insect icon, that if I click, it enables a debugger. This is a variable inspector. There's different buttons now. A step, continue. There's this idea of breakpoints. The debugger allows you to run the code, stop at a given instant, look at all the variable values, and step through your code one line at a time to try to determine what the problem might be. So that's sort of like the overview of what's possible here with the debugger. And I encourage you to take a look at the other video if you want to kind of dive into that a bit more. Okay, so what else is new in Processing 3? So something that has really changed, which if you like full screen, fast graphics, is that a lot of the engine, in particular the OpenGL engine, the engine that drives the P2D and P3D renderers has really changed. Processing used to be based on this thing called an applet, this very ancient piece of technology that used to allow you to embed Java programs into a web browser. Well, that's a really dead technology and was kind of a stumbling block. This is with each sketch being tied to being an applet, could really hamper performance and certain types of things that you might want to do full screen with a sketch. This has all changed now that applet as a dependency has been removed from the processing core engine. So let's take a look at some of the new things that have come up in that sense. So I'm going to find myself an example. I'm going to go under topics, under shaders. Shaders are a nice way of looking at some of the P3D possibilities. I will go to Nebula. So if we look at this Nebula sketch, this is actually rendered in P2D. It's loading a shader. And if I hit run, we can see there's a window and its size is 640 by 360. So one of the new things you can do is there's a brand new function besides size, and that is the function full screen. So if I comment this out, and instead of typing size, I type full screen, and oops, and I don't need to save it. And if I hit stop and I hit run, I'm in the land of white. I'm in an Apple advertisement. I'm not sure what happened. Spinning ball of death. What's going on with the world? Hello, come back. I got an error, could not run this. Oh, interesting, something changed. Let's try P3D. So what's weird is it worked with alert, GitHub, found a bug, I think. I just used a different example for this video. Okay, let's see what's going on. Let's close this example. Oh, I know what happened. This is my mistake. This is not a bug at all. I'm a terrible person. I've made a mistake. I'm going to keep going because this is my practice round, or maybe somebody could edit this video later. Okay, let's start. Let me come back. Let's run this. I'm going to come back to, and I don't want to save this. This nebula sketch, you can see it here running, 640 by 480 window. The size function has determined that window size. And what I want to do is change now from the size function to calling a function called full screen. Now, full screen does not require dimensions, does not require a width or a height, because by nature it's going to just draw the sketch at whatever the size of your screen is. However, it does require a renderer with no argument passed in. It will be the default renderer, but since this is so maybe I should start demonstrating full screen with a regular sketch. But since this particular sketch requires at least the P2D renderer, I need to say P2D, and I can run the sketch, and I see, this is what I was looking for. This is my excuse that I could make weird hand motions and pretend that I'm floating in space. Okay, so you can see here how speedy and fast this is, how easy it is to suddenly make your sketch run full screen, comment that back out, set it to size. If you've used earlier versions of processing, you might have noticed like different flickering problems, or the window takes a while to get going. In processing 3, you'll find that a lot of stuff is much faster in terms of like getting the sketch running, and also just faster in terms of the frame rate of what it's rendering due to so many things changing behind the scenes. Another thing, let's just look at a different example. I'll go down to demos. Maybe I'll find something there under graphics. Let's try trefoil. This might be an interesting one. And let's make this one full screen P3D. And this one's kind of nice, a little bit dark. Doesn't show up as well. Oh, it's coming more to light. Please don't hurt me, trefoil. I'm a friendly human. So one of the things I want to mention here, actually, like in addition to just the full screen being so easy to use with the function and kind of launching instantly, that a very common scenario of working with processing is you've got your thing, you made it on your laptop, you're plugging in a projector, now you want to see your sketch on the projector, you want to see it full screen. In past times, it's been a big hassle. Full screen, in addition to taking the renderer, can actually take as an argument the display you want to display it on. So if I were to say full screen 1, that might be the default display, your laptop screen, if I'm connected to a projector, and I say 2, then that sketch is suddenly going to go instantly onto the display number 2, which would be your projector. It sort of depends what your operating system settings are, but this works really well. And I should have this over to the right, so when I'm typing, you can see it better. And then also, really exciting, is there is an option of saying span. And what full screen span will do is if you have multiple monitors, it'll take that sketch and span it across them. So for multi-screen displays, this is a really fantastic option that just works instead of trying to find some weird, strange Stack Overflow Java hack thing to make that work. Another thing that is new in processing 3 is a way to deal with high density displays. So Mac Retina machines, other types of displays that have super high density displays, fine resolution of picture. Well, this is it's hard to just do this video continuously. I just need to take a break. It's mostly because I took too long for the earlier stuff. I'm already at 20 minutes, so I have to take about half as amount of time and move through this stuff faster. But I'm going to keep going just to practice. There's a new function called pixel density. I should have just an example ready to go. I actually just use this hue example. So for example, here, if I were on if this were a high density display, I could say pixel density density 2, and processing behind the scenes will do all of that pixel doubling to make the lines and the anti-aliasing and everything look finer and crisper and more beautiful in that sort of like high density display way. The other thing I'll mention is that there is a new experimental renderer which is particularly well suited to high density displays that you might take a look. It's not the default renderer and it's kind of hidden there in the documentation, but it's the JavaFX. So FX2D, it's based on a technology called JavaFX. So if you want to get the highest quality 2D rendering on a high density display, you might look into trying this FX2D renderer, see how it works, and chime in on GitHub with any bug reports or and have questions about it. You can also ask those on the forum. Okay, speaking of the size function, it's always been the case in processing that the idea is that the size function, it's generally good practice not to use hard-coded numbers in your code. The size function in processing is the one place where you need to use hard-coded numbers in your code. The hard-coded numbers there allow for a lot of these new possibilities in terms of rendering and bug-free. I should just say, there's a way around it. And look at the wiki. I've lost my steam on this video, so I'm going to start over soon. So I'm racing through the last thing. And then there's the contributions manager. I'm gonna pause for a second and take a break because I took too long at the beginning of this video. But let me run through the contributions manager stuff. And then I also want to look at the contributions manager, which is new. It's fully integrated. Everything's in the same place. You can search for things like the Connect library. If you want to install a library, you click install. Once you click install, you'll see a green icon that it is installed. Libraries that aren't compatible are grayed out. And then if there are libraries available for an update, you'll see them in your update list with that icon, and you can actually click update and it'll update then. You can see that I'm on 0.3, but the current version is 0.4. Then I was going to mention the wiki, which has more details. I don't need to give all the details in this video, and that many libraries are still being updated for 3.0. A lot of them are grayed out. If you're a library developer, please get in touch. We really want to help you update it. And if you have any questions, leave them in the comments in this video. Leave them in the comments in this video. That's one thing I want to say. Report bugs on GitHub, and also you can ask questions at the processing forum, and always you can send me a message at Schiffman. So that was my rehearsal. I'm going to hit stop here, even though I kind of lost steam after about 15 minutes, which I should be able to talk for 20 minutes. I do that in class all the time. I'm going to pause and I'm going to look at the chat for a second and see what comments you have. So if anybody has any feedback or comments right now, I'm going to try to start over and do the video again. There's some things that I figured out that I was doing wrong that I can have ready better. There's some mistakes I made, that sort of thing. So I'm kind of getting myself set up again. I'm going to drink some more water. I'm going to look at these demos and try to pick the best one. Rotating arcs is a good one. Particles, what does that one do? Oh, this is me, apparently. Oh, that's kind of a good one to demonstrate speed, and I can move the mouse around. 3D. This one will do. Look how fast it is. So many particles, hundreds of thousands of millions of particles. I guess I could use that one. Planets. Let's try this one. That's more spaciness. I like the nebula, but I think I should start with the hue example for just doing a 2D one. Examples. Yellowtail is a great one too. Performance tests, low level view, ribbons. I think I'll do the particle one. It's sort of like a classic thing that people are used to seeing. I think that'll work well. Okay, any other comments? Nice sketch with the particles. Okay, good. So I'm going to use that one. Okay, I need a little short break for a minute. I'm going to drink some more of this water. Here's the problem. I have to leave the live, if I turn off the live stream, oh boy, it's the audio sometimes getting, hello. It's kind of hitting that red thing if I talk too loud. But did you guys notice any crackling or audio? I think it's okay. I haven't been talking too loud. I have to leave this running because I can't turn the stream off and turn it back on, but I need to go refill my water. So I'm going to say back in 2 minutes, getting more water. So if you're watching, that's my message to you. I'm going to take my magical invisible water cup and go refill it, and I'll be back in 2 minutes. If you have any comments about that, sort of my list and script, let me know. I think I'm ready to do this. It's 2:10. I even have like an hour more time. So I think I just have to get my energy going and just power through the whole thing and be more succinct. I went on and on and on about certain things. Just need to show the error check. I showed like 5 different errors, just showed 2. Auto completion, just show it. Tweak mode, I need a better example for tweak mode. That was too complicated. Let me find one. So let me find it. If you have a suggestion for an example for tweak mode, just like basics, like form or something. Shape primitives. See, these are static though. It has to be something animated. Oops, I'm here. Math. Noise wave. Let's try that. Oh, this is going to work. Because if I do this, oops, if I do sketch tweak. So this is kind of a little bit of bug that tweak mode, I guess it has to do that. It like resets your code, but it's fine. Oh, so this is good because I can show this, that I'm tweaking the background. That's great. And I can also show this. Yeah, this is good. But I just have to position it over here. I don't have a lot of screen real estate because I made the resolution so low. But I think noise wave, this will work. I can futz with this. I can make this work because this is a nice one too, this incrementation, yeah. Look how that changes it. Oh yeah, this is good. Okay, great. Noise wave will be a good example. Okay, so let me quit. Don't save. Quit. Don't save. And now, quit processing. No, bigger. I'll be right back in 2 minutes. I need like a little clock. I could just put on a timer, but it's gonna be less than 2 minutes, so 30 seconds. I'm currently live streaming from my office.
Are you yet?
I'm taking a break to get some water. Now I'm going back on YouTube. It's just me talking, processing. I wish it was my new like something else, but. Okay, I'm back. Oh, and of course the camera without fail goes off. So that's good. I've got it back on. I have to get ready again. So a couple things I have to do here is I have to go to the preferences. I have to reset processing to not know it's been run before. And oh yeah, I'm like, that's right. When I went to get my water, I kept talking. It's a good thing I didn't go, I don't know, do something I shouldn't be doing. That's very funny. I was just talking to Gordy. Gordy's now live on YouTube. Okay. 9 people. Okay, I'm gonna check here. And okay. I'm gonna post something. Actually, no, I think I posted enough times that I'm live streaming. So people will find it or they won't find it. Okay. Any last comments? I'm reading Twitter for no reason. More comments below. Okay. Okay. And here we go. Okay, my goal is to do this video again and take about 10 less minutes to do it, to be much more efficient about it. And I think I'm ready to do it. Actually, I'm gonna drink a little bit of the coffee, so I'm losing some energy here. Okay, processing 3. My favorite version of processing ever. Water, chat, it's still working. You know, I've got a little gray area down here, but I'm just gonna leave that, it's fine. Okay, thanks for tuning in, Geronimo. And if anybody else finds their way here, here we go. Okay. Camera 1. That's not a camera. That's not a camera. Get some energy going here. Okay, here we go. And processing 3. Oops. Hello and welcome. My name is Dan Schiffman and I am here on behalf of the Processing Foundation to talk about Processing 3. Shoot, forgot what I was saying. Always takes me a few minutes to get going. Hold on, sorry everybody. I kind of wish I had gotten through it that first time. It's sort of hard to do this a second time, but it's fine. I can do it. Okay. Hi, my name is Dan Schiffman, and I am here to talk about Processing 3. I forgot the first sentence that I'm saying exactly again. Okay. Shoot. I don't. Hello, my name is Dan Schiffman, and I'm here on behalf of the Processing Foundation and all of the volunteers who have spent a lot of time and a ton of effort over the last many years, in fact, working on the processing software to talk about the newest version of processing, Processing 3, and what's new about Processing 3. Now, processing, which I've now said that word like 10 times in the first sentence, is not a new project, and processing has been around all the way since 2001. In fact, I think we're coming up on the 15th anniversary of the processing software itself. So this video is really meant for those of you who have been using processing and want to sort of see what are some of the new features of the development environment, what are some things that it can do, and what are some reasons why certain things have changed. That's my goal, to talk about those things in this video. However, if processing itself and programming is something that's completely new to you, I would recommend checking out just the processing website and the Hello Processing tutorial, both of which I will link to below. There's nothing below me but a floor, but I'm probably embedded in a web page somewhere talking in the description for this video. So take a look at that. So my goal is just kind of give you a quick overview of the features, kind of look at each one for a minute or two, and then of course I would be glad to take any questions which you can ask in the comments of this video or on the processing forum, or you're welcome to send me or the Processing Foundation itself a message on Twitter, and the links to those will also, anything I say will be a link below in the video, will just somehow be there by the fact of me saying it. Okay, so let's get started and let's look at Processing 3. So I have Processing 3, it's right over there in the corner. It's a lovely icon, not at all designed by me because I'm incapable of designing things that look nice. But many people have worked on many things in processing that make it look absolutely beautiful, and that's one of my favorite things about the new editor is you're going to see it has just a new look to it and a lot of new features which that look supports. So let's launch it. And one of the first things you'll notice is that a welcome screen comes up. So here's the first thing that's new about Processing 3. If you have been using processing for a long time, you've got a whole set of sketches and libraries in your Processing 2, and they're kind of archive projects that work and you don't want to mess with them, you can start fresh and have a completely new sketchbook with its own set of libraries and tools and modes just for processing 3. And that's kind of the recommended option for you here. You can see this option here. You could, of course, just use the old sketchbook. You know, most sketches are going to work between 2 and 3. Not that much has changed, but there are some significant things. And for larger, more complex projects, particularly if you're using external libraries, you now have the option to keep those intact from processing 2 and kind of get things working in 3 as you have kind of time for. Okay, so I'm going to do that, and I'm going to hit Get Started. I'm going to get a new sketch folder, and what you'll see is the Finder's open up, and it's saying like, hey, where do you want this new sketch folder to be? So this processing folder was my processing 2 sketchbook. This won't appear for you. I made that folder before the video started, but I'm going to select this folder, processing 3, and that's going to be my sketchbook. And you can see here under sketchbook, it's empty. There's nothing there yet. I haven't made any sketches. Maybe I'll make one in this video, and it will appear there, and that will be a nice happy moment. So, looking at the editor, it's new. There's some new icons, there's some new tabs down here, and look at this, line numbers. So many of you have always wanted to have line numbers in the processing IDE, and they're there now. And one of the reasons why they're there is there's an entirely new error checking system which refers back and forth to line numbers, so having them there can be quite useful for a variety of reasons. So let's start with the new editor. I want to kind of quickly, go through some of the new features here in the editor, and the first one I want to look at is just how error checking works. Now, I realize, no, it's fine. I realize I just ignore that preferences screen for a second, edit that out. I was checking to make sure it was set right. So what I'm going to start doing is I'm going to type some code, and I'm going to type void setup, and I'm going to type void draw, and I'm going to type size 200, 200, semicolon. Now, you can see I have a syntax error there, right? A parentheses is needed. So a couple things you'll notice. One is processing is like detecting the errors as you type. So as you type, it's finding errors. As you correct those errors go away. And this one it found is, first you'll note this squiggly line is showing you where that error is most likely occurring. Sometimes it's going to get it wrong, but almost all the time it's going to get it right. And the error message here, missing right parentheses. So this is something that's new about processing 3, and I'm very excited about it because we spend a lot of time working on rewriting the Java error messages. So detecting errors and giving more helpful feedback. And this just like brings tears to my eyes because that's exactly what's missing, a right parentheses, and that's a helpful message rather than unexpected token, missing error, I don't know, something like that. So we can correct that error. We can also do things like int, I'm going to say int x equals 50, and I'm going to say ellipse 300, 250, 50, semicolon. So now something you'll notice, this is also exciting. There are 2 errors here. One is a missing semicolon, one is a missing right parentheses. So something new about processing 3 is that if I go to this down here to the console is where you see print line messages come out, for debugging and other things. It used to also be where all the error messages happened. Now there is a separate errors tab. And if I go into that errors tab, you'll see that each error is listed individually. Now, zooming back out for a second, you can see a couple other things. These error messages are listed in which tab they're in. Now in this case, I have a simple sketch. I haven't even saved it yet, so there's just one tab, but you might have errors in different tabs, as well as the line number. The line number is listed here as well. So you get a full list of the error messages. I can click on one, and now it's even highlighted in the IDE. So this ability to go through your list of errors, find them, debug them, fix them, is a wonderful thing. And it's new, and it works great. And you can see as I start to correct them, those errors disappear. Ah, look at that. I forgot him. So this is interesting. I didn't expect this to happen, but I'm making a video live. Let's talk about this for a second. I was like, why did the errors disappear? There's still an error. So this actually isn't an error. Notice it's a yellow line, and notice there's a yellow dot here. Before there were red dots there. So there's something called a warning, which is that this variable is a variable I declared, but I never used it. It's a warning saying like, your code's going to run just fine, but does it really make sense to declare that variable and not use it? Maybe you want to remove that line of code. So this is, and again, you have a nice message. The value of local variable x is not used. So this is something that processing 3 has also warnings. And I kind of earlier had the preferences window up for a second. I kind of quickly shoved it away. This is something that you can configure in the preferences. So for example, you can turn off warnings. Like you don't really care about the warnings. If the code's going to run, the code's going to run. Turn off the warnings. The other thing you can do is turn off this continuously check for errors errors option. So if that's kind of getting in the way of your workflow and you just want to see the errors kind of when you finish typing, you can disable that option. Now, this brings me to my next item in my list, code completion with control space. Another new feature for the editor is code completion, which is a great feature. Tons of code editors and text editors have this. You're typing some code, it's a long thing to spell. The editor just sort of magically knows what it is you're going to type and fills in the rest for you. A feature like this is now available in the processing IDE. So I'm going to select that option on. It won't be on by default. So you're going to have to go to your preferences and select it. But once I've done that, I can do things like type EL, control space. And you can see here, if I zoom into that, I'm being given the options. So I typed EL, did I mean to type ellipse or ellipse mode or ellipse? And in addition to showing me which things I might be interested in typing, it's showing me what that function expects, how many arguments. So there's a little bit of metadata, not as much as a full reference, but some information to help you along. And if I were to hit enter there, it fills it in, and I can just go and fill in the arguments however I might want them. Whoops, and I could get that there, and now I have the ellipse function. So code completion is there. You can also use it with objects. If you have an object dot, the code completion will show you suddenly what are all the functions available inside of that object, which in many cases is super useful because you can't remember, is it, was it called dist or distance or, check intersection or check collision. That's a quick way to kind of look up and see what those functions are available and know what the arguments are and have them typed for you. Okay, so those are two core features. Oh, I'm missing a right parentheses. Let's figure out where that is. Line number 9. Oh, no, that's still just that warning. So that's that error is just there historically by accident. I probably should have gone away by now, but I made it go away by clicking save. Okay, okay, so let's look at another new feature in Processing 3. Now this is a feature that's been around that you could have added to processing as a separate mode. It's called tweak mode, but now it's in processing directly. So I'm gonna go grab an example. I think the example that I wanna use for this is the example called noise wave. I'm going to pull this example over here, and of course there is a run option for a sketch, run it, present, which presents it full screen, presents the sketch in the middle of the screen with a full screen background. But I'm going to show you this last option, tweak. So I'm going to run the sketch. I'm not going to run it. I'm going to tweak it. I'm going to put the sketch over here. And as I run tweak mode, you can see certain parts of the code have changed. Look at this. Next to background, there's an underline there and also this option that I can click on. So I can click on here and I could just tweak the color of the background right from the code itself. Okay, I like this color, I'm going to keep that. Then I could also go down and find certain values. Like, okay, I want to tweak the range of what noise is being mapped to. So 300 down to higher 2, and I can make this one this go down to 100. So you can see that the code is responding in real time to me changing these numbers. Oops, somebody just banged on the door. And I could also go down here and say, okay, well, this is the sort of noise incrementation level. Look how that drastically affects things based on what I do. So you can sit there and tweak values in real time as the code is running. And then if I hit stop, it's going to give me the option, do I want to keep those changes? So I changed a lot of hard-coded values in the code. I like the way it looks much better. I can say yes. Of course, it's an example, so it wants me to save it, and I've got those new values. So this is a great new feature. I would say it's not really a substitute for like building your own interface or having some interesting generative or procedural way to affect the way parameters in your program work. But for quick and dirty sketching and trying out different values, this is a really nice feature to have in the IDE. Okay, one more new feature that is in the IDE that I would like to demonstrate to you. It is the debugger. I'm really going to gloss over this because I've already made an entire video all about the debugger, and I'll make sure a link to that is included also below in the description. But I'll just point out to you where it is. This insect icon up here, if you click it, it enables the debugger. You get a few different options for how you can run the sketch. The whole point of the debugger is allow you to pause the code and advance line by line. So there's options like continue and step. There's ways of adding breakpoints, which are moments where the code should pause. And then there's this new pane over here, which is the variable inspector. So that variable inspector will show you what the current variable values are at a certain breakpoint. So I'm just going to add a breakpoint here. You can see diamond is now, oops, my head is in front of that. You can see I click here and I add a breakpoint. There's a diamond there. And if I then run the code under debug, the code runs and, shoot. was doing so well with this video. Let me try adding it here. I'm not sure what happened. Shoot, I went too far with my discussion of the debugger. Watch the other video. It's fully explained. I might have to edit this out. At some point, just cut myself off and go to the next thing because I don't need to demonstrate the debugger myself. So let me actually like kind of start over for a second back where I was and just say I'm going to start from where I was talking about the debugger icon. So this is the debugger icon up here in the right-hand corner. If you enable that debugger icon, you'll see that there are a bunch of different options for stepping through the code, pausing. Boy, I really screwed this up. Let me start over from the debugger and see if I can. I wonder why that didn't work, but I'm not gonna explore that right now. I'm gonna pretend I'm starting over talking about the debugger, and then I'm gonna keep going, and maybe this can be spliced together as I am recording. So the last feature that I want to talk about is the debugger. Now, oops, oh shoot, now I stepped on the wire. Things are really going haywire. Let me fix this audio cable here. Okay. The last feature I want to talk about is the debugger. Now, I don't need to spend too much time on the debugger because I have an entirely other video that goes through the debugger in detail, and I'll make sure there's a link to that below that you can go and watch. But the core idea for a debugger is it allows you to pause the sketch at a given moment, step through the sketch line by line, and look at what the values of variables are at different moments to try to diagnose a problem with the sketch. So to enable the debugger, there's this nice insect icon up here in the top right. You can click on that. And once you click on that, you can see some options have changed here. You can run the code by debugging, you can stop, you can continue, and also there is this variable inspector over there on the right where variable values will be displayed. So for more details about that, take a look at the debug video. Okay, the next topic I want to talk about is full screen and fast graphics and OpenGL, and a lot of that's changed in really exciting new ways in Processing 3. So let me open up a simple example here. Open recent hue. So this is one of my personal favorite little processing examples. It's just demonstrating how hue works based on the Y value of the mouse. I'm drawing colors of different hues. So one of the things that the sort of core function of processing that you're familiar with is the size function. And we did see that there is this way of saying present. And what present does is it takes a sketch and places it in the middle of the screen with a nice background behind it. But there is a new function available in processing called full screen. So what full screen is a replacement for size. You no longer need to use both of those. So if I comment out the size function and say full screen, and I run it, you will see my sketch is now happening instantly full screen. And what's really wonderful about this is the full screen function doesn't just take your sketch and run it full screen on the display that you're currently working on. What's one of the most common scenarios of why people work with processing? They've got a project, it's on their laptop, it's hooked up to a projector, it's part of an installation. If I were to say, if I have two displays and I say full screen 1, this sketch is going to run on this particular display. If I change it to full screen 2, this sketch is going to run on the projector. So the ability to quickly and easily send your sketch full screen to a particular display is a new feature of processing with this full screen function. And in addition to that, if I simply just say span, full screen span, this is a scenario that if I have multiple displays, the sketch will span across all of them. Which, if you've worked in multi-screen installations and environments before, this is a very difficult thing to accomplish. And now this is possible just by working in processing with the full screen function. Okay, so there's a little bit more to this than that. So what I want to do is close this sketch and go to a different example. I'm just going to go to this demos, graphics, particles. And one of the things I want to talk about here is what's happened with OpenGL rendering and processing. So you'll notice processing has multiple renderers. There's the default renderer, which is what I'd just been using before. There's the P2D renderer for hardware accelerated two-dimensional graphics and the P3D renderer for hardware accelerated 3D graphics. Processing used to be built on top of this thing called applet. Old ancient technology to allow you to embed Java applications in a web browser. Kind of a dead, defunct technology. Processing 3 has now removed applet as a dependency. This makes all sketches, but in particular, OpenGL 3D and 2D sketches, P2D and P3D sketches run faster, start faster, less flicker, quick full screen. So all of these options that we're talking about are available here. So if I were to say full screen, you can see here is a nice speedy demonstration. Whoops. Oh, I forgot. I've got to give it the renderer, right? So one thing that I mentioned before, about about the full screen function is you can pass it the particular display you want to go to, but you also can pass it the renderer you want. So P2D, 1 would be the P2D renderer on the first display. P2D, 2 would be the P2D renderer on the second display. Right now I'm just going to do P2D on the default display. Whoops, read only, and I'm going to, oops, I can't save it, and I'm going to run it. And you can see here it is. So this is a sketch with a lot of particles running and processing super fast at a nice high frame rate, full screen. It started instantly. This is a lot of work has gone into updating not just this applet thing, but just making these renderers work better with new OpenGL features, a more efficient code, more stuff happening on the hardware card. And so if you take a look on GitHub, you'll see the names of the folks who have really spent a ton of time fixing bugs to make this work really, really well. So you should thank them for that. Okay, the other new thing about display, working with displays in processing, is that, and let me just go back, not that this, I don't know why I need to open this, but I'm gonna go back to this Hue example for a second, is that the world is now full of what's known as high density displays. So a Mac Retina machine is a high density display. There's other types of high density displays for use with Windows computers. So if you want to get that sort of finer quality rendering with processing, you can do so with the new pixel density function. So I'll just type that in here. For example, if I say pixel density 2, what this will do is it will sort of turn on Retina or high density display rendering. So you'll see finer, smoother lines like you want to see on a high density display. I should also mention that really changes the way you think about the dimensions of your window, right? Because there's the sort of dimensions that you think it is, 640 and 360, then there's the real pixel dimensions of that window because there's more pixels going in there to make it look sort of higher resolution. So there's also some new variables, pixel width and pixel height, that you can use for pixel processing and that sort of thing, and there's more information about that in the reference. Okay, finally, there is an additional experimental renderer. So if you're interested in really beautiful, perfect, high-density display 2D rendering, you might take a look at this new renderer that's called FX2D. So this is built on top of a technology called JavaFX, and it's optimized for like fast, high-quality 2D rendering on a high-density display. It's experimental though. Certain things work, certain things don't work. Give it a try, and certainly ask questions on the forum or post bugs to GitHub for that. Okay, the last thing I'll mention about this while we're on the size function is it's important to note that processing 3 requires you to use hard-coded numbers in the size function. This is a requirement for that helps all the engine behind the scenes that's working to make the window open correctly, full screen, not full screen, very quickly, and be in the right position. There are ways around it. There's and on the wiki, I'm going to show you a wiki page. It'll be linked below. If you need to use a variable for that size function, there's a way that you can get around it, and other things that you might do if you're working with processing an environment like Eclipse. But as a core rule right now that's become a little bit more strict with processing 3, you want to make sure you use a hard-coded number for size, and size should be the first line in setup. Otherwise, things can break and do strange things. Okay, so I'm almost through this video. I've been talking about new features in Processing 3, and the last thing that I want to show you is the new Contributions Manager. So one of the most exciting things about working with processing is the fact that there are all these libraries that you can use. Libraries to do interesting types of geometry, to simulate physics, to use different kinds of hardware and sensors. So there is a new Contributions Manager which allows you to manage what libraries you have installed, updating libraries with new versions, and it works great. So I'm going to show you some of the features of that. So if I go to Sketch, Import Library, Add Library, it's going to pull up the Contributions Manager. So one of the first things you can see here is that this Contributions Manager is now fully integrated as one thing. So whether you're looking for a library, a mode, a tool, or example, and by the way, this is new, example packages. If you're the author of a textbook, or if you're giving a workshop, or if you just have a whole set of examples that you would like to release, you can release example packages that can get downloaded into the development environment directly. So you can see here are four such examples from a couple of books that are out there about processing right now. So you can see here there's a list of all of the libraries that are available to you. And I can scroll through these lists. I can filter by certain keywords, like I could say video. I could filter also by a category here if I want. And one thing I want to show you really quickly is you can see here, I pre-installed a library, but there's an exclamation point, meaning this library is due for an update. So a library that is installed, you'll see in a minute, has a green check mark. And a library that's installed that needs an update has an exclamation point. A library that's grayed out is one that is not compatible with this version of processing. So hopefully all libraries will soon become compatible with processing 3, and then they'll appear in the contributions manager and you can install them. But let's just install a library just to go through that. I'm going to go to connect. I'm going to just type in connect. I'm going to install this library. I'm going to click on this install button right down here. I'm going to install it. It's downloading. It's installed. And if I look for that library again, whoops. You can see that there is the green check mark right there. Another useful tab, by the way, is up here. I can go over to updates and I can see, oh, here are all the libraries that are available for updates, and I can actually just select update all. So if I have like 10 libraries that need to be updated, I can just select update all, and you can see actually how quickly it updated, it downloaded, installed, and that exclamation part became green. So now those libraries are there, the examples are there, you can see which is the available version, what's installed. Hopefully this new contributions manager will make it really easy to keep track of what you have, what needs updating, what isn't compatible, what is compatible, that sort of thing. It sort of brings me to my next point. Processing 3 is new. There's a lot of libraries out there for processing. If you are a library developer, please get in touch with us if you need help updating your library for processing 3. You can post on the forum, you can send us an email, you can tweet to processing.org. We'd really like to be able to help people figure out how to make sure to get their libraries updated for processing 3 and in the editor. So let us know what you need us to do for that. And so the last thing I want to show you is just if you need more information about what's changed, I'm kind of this, and you don't want to listen to me just ramble and not look at this YouTube live event. I'm going to show you there is this changes in 3.0 wiki. So this will be linked in the video, but this goes through all of these new interface things, a lot of these rules about size, the new renderers, the syntax, what's deprecated, all of these types of things in sort of text form. So I'd also encourage you to read that over. So you're very kind to listen to this very long video and look at these new features of Processing 3. Please let me know what you think. If there's things that I missed, ask questions. If there's ideas you have, you can participate on the forum, you can post a bug report on GitHub, and you can send us messages and all the other kinds of ways people send each other messages in today's world. So thanks very much. Enjoy the rest of your day if you're still watching, and I hope to come back and make more videos about things that you can do in processing. Okay, bye-bye. All right, I don't know if anyone is still there. Okay, 11 people are watching. So I finished that video. There was only one big problem where there was like a section in the middle where I couldn't get the debugger to work. So I'm going to look at that right now just to see if I can fix the debugger. If people have other questions they want to ask, I will stick around on YouTube for at least another 15 minutes. So I just got a strange text message. Hold on, let me see what's going on. Okay, actually I have a message that I have to attend to. So actually I'm going to just be finished for today with this stream. If anybody has any questions, you could send me an email or post me a message on Twitter. I will, and I'm going to look into this debugger thing and see if there's a bug that I need to post. And hopefully this video will do, and I can kind of edit it to get it up there without having to re-record it. Okay, thanks for tuning in, and post questions in the comments, or you know how to reach me on Twitter. Keep saying Twitter, and that's all. Okay, I'm going to stop. Oh wait, I have to stop the stream over here.